Hello, tribe. Welcome. Let's dive into the archives. Holiest of spirits, what energy needs to come forward the most? From the Most High Creator Source, from my ethereal, original, collective, for their highest good, of course. The bell definitely helps to draw in the channel, and it helps to clear the energy in between each reading. You took a wise risk, and it paid off. Your enemies hate to see you win, but you keep winning, and they can't deny that you are a powerful creator. So it's a bit bittersweet for the enemy. Part of them wants to let the creator win, but the enemy doesn't want to give you the satisfaction of your victory. You're reaping the rewards regardless. And remember, the enemy isn't your friends and family. Not usually. The real enemy is bound to some of the lesser layers of the spirit realms. So they're not supposed to incarnate. There's a wall trapping them there. They can sometimes hack into the astral network between all things, but they can't really incarnate into the physical unless a human being summons them. The real evil forces are forces, and they're not supposed to be a part of our planet unless people allow it in by literally ripping open the fabric between the realms. Some people's energy is so potent that it automatically rips open the dimensions sometimes. So I'm seeing real enemies are the underworld overlords. They represent fallen natures like the 7 deadly sins and all the fallen natures that humans have created. They're embodied as just like a wicked force of nature trapped in between mind and spirit. Basically, they are not necessary. For my experience, little tiny things can open the portals to let them in, especially if you're powerful. So if you don't engage with lower natures, they will disappear like they don't even exist. So they have to act upon humans falling into those natures to get access to the physical plane. Otherwise, they're trapped out there. I know it may seem like fallen natures are natural, right? Or it's just like a part of life. But God says that it wasn't natural for us to deify fallen natures. So it's basically like humans glorified the fallen side, and it became these underworld entities, and it's not supposed to be that powerful. So we're not even supposed to be doing that kind of thing. In ancient times, they deified the 7 fallen natures or something like that, and they're trapped now. Without them, you won't be like tempted by entities ever. And so you don't have to be like perfect, but Spirit says like their influence was like introduced to the network of consciousness in ancient times to distort people and to make them... Whoa, hold on. I'm seeing something interesting. Okay, Spirit is saying in the beginning when they very first built like the overlays that trap consciousness in this dense place, right? Way in the beginning, they deified the fallen natures and sent them out into the quantum network between all things to corrupt the network. So that's what they originally did to corrupt the whole thing. And then I see it turning so physical. It's so unnatural. So there's a massive corruption. And then God like captured them like the little creatures or gremlins, and he bound them somewhere. But sometimes they still portal through people to get in. And then Spirit has to continue to clean them back up and put them back. But the way they get in is because they are connected to humans' fallen natures, just separated and deified. And so they have connections still, like threads between people that pull on each other. And people pull them in that way. Sometimes they do it when they're trying to heal their lower self. And then that's connected to some ancient entity, And no one even knew this happened. It was done some kind of massive ancient fucking ritual, dude, where they like cut the cord on the lower self. And that's not even healthy because now it's like way too polarized into the negative to places it was never supposed to go. And then like it also makes people actually feel like they have to reject their darker side and be all perfect and stuff. And if they would have never cut the cord, it wouldn't be extremes, So it wouldn't have to be anything worth rejecting because it wouldn't be anything worth fearing. But when they cut the shadow of the collective, it keeps getting cut from the collective. It's really harming them because it's like making them think they have to be perfect light or they're evil. Or if they're evil, if they want to act on their dark side, I'm not saying evil. If they want to act on their dark side, these entities are going to try to turn evil. So they can't even do that comfortably sometimes. So they need to stay away, okay? And you're supposed to be able to have the full spectrum of yourself without having these entities trying to corrupt your path. Okay, so there's like benevolence in all sides of us naturally, and they distorted that into something evil. Evil is not normally a part of being human. That's what God even says. Like, we were not created to be evil. It's so unnatural to humans. Yeah, so Creator says what it says, I have my own views on things, but I do fill out the energy to make sure it feels true to the absolute. And it does. And I still see this slicing the shadow off the collective as if it was done ritualistically. And it literally looks like a fall. Like the whole dimension falls into matter. Like really all at once. And it's like a time so long ago that no one even knows about it. Like, it's so... I'm not good at placing timelines, but when I say ancient, I mean ancient. So be aware that your energy opens these portals to these other realms because you're very in tune with spirit and creativity and all of that. So you can be fully expressed without letting in any astral gremlins, alrighty? See, I see these underworld entities and overlords. At first, to the untrained eye, they seem scary, but when you just power through that energy, they transform into nothing. They just fade away. They phase out and dissipate. You can just power right through it. They go from looking big and scary to looking like little gremlin thought forms that don't even have any power. Your will is much greater than theirs. I can tell you that much. And if they can't keep you afraid, they can't control you. So Spirit's been talking about what the real enemy is and what it plays off of. Plays off your natural darkness and tries to suck you into even deeper, darker realms, which are not really where humans are supposed to be playing. Okay? Think Spirit was saying, or God was saying, that the way you open the portal to that stuff is not you. I don't want to blame, like, put energy on anybody. I'm just kind of talking to God. Okay. The way that people end up opening portals to these entities that are embodying, like, really fallen natures, they open that portal when they glorify the fallen ways. So that's what does it, is to, like, glorify lust or greed or pride. And these are these deities, really. And when you glorify that over God or even over yourself, that's what opens the door. Otherwise, you're fine. Little gremlins pop up. You just throw like an orb at them or shoot them with some light or just make them disappear with your visualization skills. Really, it's easy to overpower them. And then you continue on. Don't let them block your path. The only thing that you have to yield to when traveling in the astral and spiritual realms, you do have to yield to the different gates and the gatekeepers. They're very old and stoic and serious, and they're not going to play tricks on you and be like showing you weird visions, but they will block you at gates, and those are worth respecting. And you just have to tell them what you're looking for, and they'll tell you whether you can pass through the gate. But these little gremlins, they'll try to mess with your path and block your path, but you can't take it seriously. They have no real authority over you. So if you see that, just make light of it. If they can't attach to you in some way, they can't do much to you. So some of you remove the fear and all these little things, like, they just disappear, Spirit says. And of course, we're talking about like spiritual warfare and things that go on in other dimensions. We don't want to invite that into the physical. Thankfully, it's not here in the physical. So most of the enemies are kind of formless, trapped in between spirit and mind, okay? And it's not something of the physical, but it can act through people in the physical. You know what I'm saying? And it's not about your friends and family and stuff like that. Or it's not about your neighbors and associates. It's not about all the other people to blame. Okay? I'm not even talking really about people. But I guess sometimes people find a mirror there. But really, I am just delivering the message as it comes straight from the Creator every time. Somehow we got from you took a risk that paid off to underworld entities. Maybe it's a good risk in the sense of telling people that they are as powerful as the Creator when it comes to being greater than these fallen ways and commanding them to obey. They are really powerful. And some people want to make it harder on themselves. I know I did. I went through spiritual warfare for years until I learned this kind of cheat code. And basically, you just have to overpower the energy and not make it harder than it has to be. Visualization is changing the vibration, the energy. It's not just imaginary, it's literally changing and recoding it. And there's some quick fix type of stuff you can do. But I was reading from the book a little bit about this energy, and I think it revealed itself through the reading as we've been talking. The book says, the element of risk is also present in the Five of Cups because 2 of the 5 cups are regarded as containing something sweet tasting and 2 as something bitter tasting, with the 5th being either sweet or bitter, but with no clue as to which one it actually is. So like I said, the enemy gets a bittersweet taste from your energy, Because they hate it, but they love it. The real enemy. Because you're winning and they know it, but they're not allowed to show it. I don't know. They aren't allowed to allow you to win. Okay, but basically, some people totally get what you're saying. They know things can be simplified. They know, okay? But then other people get that bitter taste from your energy where they take it way too personally when you're not really directing it at humans, you're directing it at these invisible forces. So either something about they just never know what they're going to get from you, or maybe you never know what you're going to get from them. But there's always this element of, is it going to be sweet or spicy? You know, trick or treat, I heard. And that's the thing. You get to be so creative and take so much creative liberty, even in your own mind and spirit. And then you can do whatever the heck you want as long as you're checking with God and it says you're good. Do what you want. You don't have to fall in line. Okay, that's ridiculous. No one wants to do that. Seeing so many visions all at once, trying to piece them together. Bear with me. Bear the energy with me, please. Ring the bell. Those underworld beings can stay in hell. They will have no choice but to bow down to the creative authority, okay, the absolute. End of story. They did some kind of ancient ritual to create it through humans, and so humans might just have to heal it themselves for it to really fully ever go away. They have to heal their connection to it. Although some of them, it's against their will. They didn't create it. So they're being punished because of a few people who trapped the collective shadow. Now everyone has to deal with that. But, it manifested from something in humans that they trapped that's going to return back to them to be healed. So that's kind of natural, something we have to let happen. That's what I see in my vision. But also, it's a personal choice. So if you or I personally choose to reject anything that fallen, where it's unhealthy in any type of way, it's unhealthy if it's taken over your life. And if you reject that at every corner as you travel, that's your personal decision. Spirit also shows me a vision that being too polarized into the heavenly realms is also not always the right choice. You need to go into heaven and into your darkness, kind of back and forth equally as they arise and transform through you. And it doesn't have to go into their fallen ways. We banish that, okay? And anyone associated to it. Honestly, I'm not even connected to that, but I have always been fascinated by the different entities in the different worlds, whether above or below. And even holding yourself to a standard of perfect heavenly perfection is not that healthy either. That's what Spirit's showing me. So it's showing me by cutting off the shadow, it overpolarized the collective also into some fake light type shit. And yeah, it's not really supposed to be that dualistic. It doesn't always have to be this versus that all the time. It can be this and that as one. Okay, so separated all the realms in a really weird way, as if it wasn't that way originally. These ancient wicked humans took it there, like I said. I keep having a vision of them slicing and dicing the fabric between dimensions, making it all super separated and layered when it was at one point all existing in the same place, kind of like it was heaven on earth once before. Then they sliced open, somehow ripping open dimensions And now everything's all fractured and layered. Like it wasn't supposed to be that way, all spread out like that. Like, I don't know how to explain it. So I see like God being one with us on earth before this happened. The heavens being on earth. No one being really evil at all. You know? So like, did humans create evil? Because it sounds like the creator saying they created evil through the creative power he gave them. Well, I've never seen this story before. You know, the creator is literally saying like, humans in a time of magic and heaven, and before it all fell into matter, they did all that ritual stuff and they created evil. So maybe God's not to blame for evil. See, when the shadow got cut off, it was the fallen natures of humans, not God's fallen nature. Alright, that was like quite the message from a spirit. And it could even just be a reflection. It doesn't have to be literally what happened, but it looks very potent. It seems very true in this vision and what I'm feeling. I've never seen this before. This is actually really interesting to me. And I'm like sitting here like, whoa, what is that? And God was like, stop thinking so hard. You're going to hurt yourself. I'm like, sorry, but you got me thinking. Let's pull more cards. It's been a long time since we pulled a card. That was what I saw today. Yeah, they did what they did of their own free will. Their own ability to have their own mind. And trap the mind if they want to. And they did. And Spirit keeps showing it to me like over and over again. I'm like, I think I explained everything already. And then they just keep showing me the ritual, like the same ritual. There's hundreds of people doing it together. The first fall into matter. And they tried to use their free will to overpower creator will. And now it's in the hands of free will, basically, to correct it back into its original form. Even something about free will is important because Spirit's saying like exercising your free will in general connects you to things that go against God's will. And that's kind of our right to be able to do that. And it's a process of learning and evolution. Even if you do use your own will over God's will. But I think the most balanced answer is to use them together as one, where it's an equal force between you and Creator. You know, you create an alignment, but you don't reject the higher powers. You kind of bring them together as one. And I think that's the balance. Don't think you have to, yeah, I think I've been saying this a lot. Something about you can exercise your free will without feeling like a freaking slave to anybody. And you can still incorporate, you know, the higher plan, God's plan, without feeling like you can never do it your own way. And even he's saying, like, this is not natural for all of this competition between different thoughts, you know. We're so multidimensional, all in one place, that we don't need to separate it into a million layers and pieces like they did. That way we can have all these things existing, coexisting together in harmony. Even just opposing thoughts can all exist in harmony. And accept that it's refining you through the challenge that God presents. All of them, every bit of it. God's even saying every bit of it has, you know, God's light shining on it. It's all a part of the plan. Even when it seems like it's not. I see a sun, everything that the sunlight touches. And I don't know, it's all part of the plan. Yeah, Creator knew that by giving humans the power to choose and exercise free will, that they would use it. Like, Creator knew that. So in a sense, like, it's like reality is forced to adapt to your choices, but then it pushes back and forces us to adapt to the Creator. So it kind of goes back and forth. It's like cyclical and rhythmic somehow, like a breath or a heartbeat. It's a pulse, like a force. There's like two equal forces pushing and give and take, and like giving slack and taking slack. And it's like two equal forces. And it's not actually good and evil. At least that's how it was supposed to be before they sliced and diced it. But I want to stop speaking that because I want to tear it down and recreate what was supposed to be here. At least the way that I see it through God's eyes. Although I am personally cutting slack to the other force to maintain balance, because everything serves a purpose here. We're in a space where it's as it should be, and everything is fulfilling its purpose in this space. So it's like a dance between the energy, but more subtle than a dance, okay? It's like they're finding the middle ground between energies, like in the micro worlds and realms. I mean macro, and in the macro and micro probably. I don't know if that was Freudian slip, but I meant to say, like, in the realms between heaven and hell, like, there's this meld, this exchange, some kind of temperance there. And it's kind of like a subtle dance. Like, it's not like they're fully dancing, but they're starting to get along. It's very interesting. And I do see that this is when we live without these entities. So when we live as we're supposed to, with respect for both sides within ourselves and stuff, within the force of all things too, and with respect for both sides, there's really not good and bad there. The message is really rolling through. I'm not even needing the cards. But I feel like it's the energy speaking to me. So the cup that we just drank from was a little bitter and a little sweet. But it turned out to be, I think, more sweet than bitter. That was interesting because I kind of dove into the energy there of what I read in the book. I felt that. So Spirit says to pull this into the present. They still do rituals to keep that shadow bound, that collective shadow. And it's not good for us. I'm also seeing a vision. I mean, test this energy yourself, okay? Take what resonates, or if it resonates. This can be all different types of stuff for all different types of people and reasons. Only God really knows. But God is my guide, okay? The source creator absolute. I kept seeing a vision where people lived like a lot longer. It wasn't separated like it is. Like everything was right here. And it's kind of still right here. It just seems like it's now in a different dimension when it didn't used to be in different dimensions. It used to all be like in one place, sort of, in like a everlasting kind of way. And that still exists. But they still do rituals to bind the collective shadow, to keep the dimensions separated so you can't see it fully, the full picture. Yeah, I still see how, creation and the quantum network adapts to human choices and then adapts again to the highest outcomes that align to the source creator, back and forth. So now that everything is kind of separated in a way, there's this constant evolution. An evolution like a revolution of energy going through cycles now. Cycles through dimensions. Instead of just it all being in one place, now it cycles through many dimensions. It's like an endless evolution for consciousness and the soul. Even into other lives and other realms. The evolution never ends. Now that it's began. So something like flicked the first domino that started this thing, and now it's unstoppable. And I even see like spirits in the afterlife continue to grow. It's like I see the soul and the consciousness being on a constant journey together. Then I see them becoming like one, and it returns back to an eternal place. And not as like infinite and spread out, but more eternal. And that happens when the soul consciousness evolution like comes together as one. And all the realms reunite. So the Princess of Swords is cutting through any falsities. According to the book, I'd say cutting through also any false idols. So these are gifts from the divine with the Nine of Cups. They're supposed to inspire us. So this isn't a trick, I promise you that. So it's good to view this evolution as an opportunity given from life, experiencing life. Well, I'm going to call that good for this reading. I will talk to you in another video. This has been a really fun channeling session. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'd love to hear your perspective on this channeling session. Take care, everyone.